Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's TX141 here with another Ace in a Day gameplay as always. Today I'm bringing out a slightly different plane. I'm bringing out the Focke-Wulf 190 D-13. Now for the uninitiated, it's a rank 14 plane in the Luftwaffe tech tree. It's a premium plane as well. No, I didn't go out my way to fork out tons of pounds out of my wallet in order to get this plane. I managed to get this plane during the Indian summer event over, I believe it was the September period. Was it worth it? Well, I'm not going to draw a major judgment, but in my opinion, it probably wasn't all that I thought it was going to be cracked up to be, in all honesty. And this game's going to, well, this game won't just highlight the reasons why this plane isn't all that it was hyped up to be. So anyway, talking about the setup, we're on the ground strike map Crater. Well, it should be sea strike map really, because there's barely any ground targets on this map. We're using a 500m gun convergence. We're using the 20mm air target ammunition for the three 20mm cannons. And I have a 30-minute fuel load. So my initial plan is, as always, especially if I'm using an energy fighter or a high altitude fighter, such as the D-13, to get as much altitude as possible at the start of the game. I look at the scoreboard and I've noticed that there's a mix of enemy fighters and bombers, and as you're going to see towards the start of this video, so coming up soon, there were a large number of enemy heavy bombers that came directly for our airfield and needed to be intercepted. And following that, I go on to defend our own bombers for a little bit and then try and take out some enemy fighters. Now, the pros of this plane are, in my opinion, as follows. It's got an incredible roll rate. If you've flown the Focke-Wulf 190A5, any of those, with their roll rates, the roll rate of this plane is just the same. Additionally, this plane picks up speed pretty fast when it's on the level, and it climbs alright. Again, the problems are that its turn rate at low speed is absolutely appalling, like in the case of the Focke-Wulf 190A5, but you get used to that anyway. And also, this plane has a climb rate which is a lot lower than a lot of the other planes that are meant for high altitude fighting, dogfighting roles. For example, BF-109 G10, because they're both rank 14. Tempest, just to name a couple, and some of the Spitfires even outclimb this plane. Now, my first target was this B-17, so notice it's actually chasing our Messerschmitt and heading towards our base. Now, I didn't intend to get the kill, but I managed to set the fuel tank of that B-17 on fire, and everyone else keeps crowding after the B-17 while I just zoom away. Just a quick boom and zoom run. And also, another problem with this plane, in my opinion, is the 320mm cannons are brilliant for taking out fighters. However, they just lack a little bit of the oomph you need to take out bombers, which a 30mm cannon would provide. If you have the D-12, you'll know what I'm talking about, most likely. However, we did actually manage to kill that B-17 in the end. It looks as though the game registered that the fact that I managed to set that B-17 on fire counted as the most damage for the kill. Or perhaps it caused the pilot to be killed in the ensuing flames and carnage. But we're not going to debate on that. So now I'm keeping to my mantra of getting energy, climbing and climbing, because I've noticed there's a G-8N, a Japanese heavy bomber above our base, who's just dropped their first payload. Although our Typhoon, as you can see on the top left of the screen, will eventually take him or her out. I'm not condemning this plane. If you do enjoy energy tactics, it's a worthy plane to invest in, although if you get the opportunity to earn it for an Indian summer event, I would advise going there, because you could probably spend your Golden Eagles a lot more effectively. Although I've never spent any actual Golden Eagles apart from the ones that we get given at the start when we do the tutorial missions and that, so I can't really provide any more advice on that point. And as you've seen now, that G8N's been taken out by our Typhoon, so I'm cruising over towards our G8N and our G5N to see if I can help out. I'm noticing that there's only one enemy plane up at an altitude akin to mine, and that's that Messerschmitt 109. It's most likely a G version. They seem to be a flavour of the rank, in all honesty, G10s especially. Now, going back to what I was saying concerning the pros and cons of the D-13, the main con is the climb rate. You're really caught out by the fact that within the first couple of minutes of the game, players in Messerschmitt 109s and Tempests, to give you a couple of examples, will easily outclimb you and be at least a kilometre above you in terms of altitude, which means you've got to try and compete in the vertical with your plane being at the lower altitude. So you're trapped essentially, and you have to fly away as far as possible along the edge of the map in order to get up the altitude, get up the speed, and then match your opponents, which is absolutely irritating. I've been quite lucky in this game. I've literally just recorded this game as well, so it's fresh in my mind. I was quite lucky in the fact that the majority of the enemy fighters which were present decided to engage our fighters in the middle of the map at the start rather than head out towards the edge of the map and keep climbing. Even that Messerschmitt 109, which I was going to go after, he or she's dived down after our G5M, which they eventually shot down, and now that player's got one of our Messerschmitts on his or her tail. So there was no need for me to engage that enemy fighter as a result, and I've got clear space to move around. And now I'm noticing that our G8 ends over the enemy airfield, and I'm noticing there's a bunch of enemy planes that are gradually climbing, that M1K and the Yak-3 in particular. And I'm going to intercept them and hopefully force them back down. Now the wonderful thing about this plane is, if you do end up having to engage players at high altitudes such as 5,000 meters plus, this plane goes into an element of its own compared to a lot of the other planes. It can continue to climb. As you're going to see here, it performs boom and zoom runs very nicely, as would be expected of a Focke-Wulf. On this Yak-3, which you're about to see, I managed to hit him or her in one clean go. Now, as I was saying earlier, the armament is really catered towards taking out enemy fighters because you only need a 1 second burst with the 320mm cannons. As long as you're within a range of, say, 500 to 400 meters or closer, you will rip that plane to pieces. I mean, there we only needed to hit the cockpit and the pilot was dead instantly. But of course that could be down to vitality and a number of other factors, so take everything I say of course with a pinch of salt. Now I'm keeping up my altitude. I'm sorry the frame rate's a bit dodgy, but on larger maps such as Crater, my PC struggles to handle the frame rate, oddly enough, which I will talk a little bit more about in my channel update. I'm not sure when that's going to be made or recorded, but you guys will see it eventually. But yeah, in the meantime I'm just keeping my altitude up, and I'm noticing at this point that my presence above the majority of the enemy fighters has caused them to not climb after our G8N anymore. And also because our G8N's, I'd say at least 6 kilometers above sea level, it means they're not going to go after him or anymore. It's a lost cause, so to speak, unless you're in a G10 or something along those lines where you can make the climbs incredibly quickly. So I noticed there's an enemy Year 2 that's just come fresh out of spawn, and I've got my eyes on him or her, and I noticed they're diving towards some of our destroyers over in one corner of the map, so I decided to leave them alone. Instead, I'm just going to dive into the clouds because there's nothing up here for me and see what I can do. Now I've got no idea where any of the enemy fighters are, so literally as soon as I come out of the clouds I've got to just pick a target and engage, which is a risky tactic because you've got very short time to react, but it can pay off in the long run because nobody knows or should know that you're coming after them. As you're about to see, G10. Making use of the burst of the cannon fire, I'm now going to move on to another target. I'm just keeping all my speed and just going as straight as possible with minor corrections to my flight path. I'm noticing that I believe it's our Corsairs in trouble here, so I decided to hit one of the Spitfires. So that's a Spitfire Mark 5C taken out with a quick burst, and we're already up to 4 kills. So we just need one more for the standard ace that I tried to get, and also really that highlights a good way of using the plane, in my opinion, that you just do quick sweeps in boom and zoom runs and then you fly off. However, because the game was coming towards its end, I realised that I can't just keep climbing and repeat that, because by the time I get back up to 3,000 meters or whichever altitude I want to get to, the game's going to be over. So instead I decided to turn, and as you saw there, the turn was pretty quick because we've got speed behind us. And as long as you keep your speed up, in the D-13 especially, your turn rate is actually quite good. But as soon as you let your speed drop below 300 kilometers an hour, you might as well call it quits. So I decided to dive on a Yak-9, who decides to turn away from me. I thought they were going to go for a head-on engagement first, and I opened fire. Now I tried to clip them in the middle of the scissors they're performing, but I never get off a good enough shot, so I decided to turn and go for this M1K2. And I perform a critical, so I move on to a Spitfire. I managed to take out the Spitfire, take out their tail control. The M1K also piles into the ground in the end, so we're up to 6 kills now. And as you can see there, I just made one pass at those 2 fighters, and because I pulled off a nice set of aim shots and took out a couple of vital control surfaces with the 20mm cannon ammo, we can usually put planes into the ground very quickly. And now I'm noticing at this point there's a Spitfire being chased by 2 of our pilots, but I'm thinking, well, I don't want that Spitfire coming after me, and they seem to be dawdling about, so I decided to take the Spitfire out myself. Okay, so that's 7 kills, but really we did 6 of those on our own and then helped contribute to the 7th and pick that up. So at this point the game's just about to end, I'm flying off, knowing that I'm all safe, I can carry on up to higher altitudes, and with the game ending, I'm feeling quite happy. That's a good game, 7 kills. So to bring up the scoreboards now, they're just going to load up, and just to give you a little bit of after-play analysis, it's not that I'm not recommending this plane, but it's really, you've really got to have the right situation in order to use the D-13. There are a lot of planes which can do what it can do, but they can do it better. BF-109 G10, for example, and the Tempest, although I've heard the Tempest handles like a brick. But as you can see on the scoreboard, using the premium plane, we've got 38,000 experience and 42,000, well, just shy of 43,000 silver lines, which is absolutely brilliant. We've got a survivor award, and we had a good game overall. But anyway, I've been TX141. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, why not leave a like, comment, or feel free to subscribe for more War Thunder content on my channel. Until next time, take care and have fun in the skies.